I think the message of this story, it might be that you should... I've forgotten.
Completely forgotten. It's fine.
Where do you find it?
No.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Connors Tea.
How are ye?
We are
Candlelittle Tales.
And what do?
We tell stories. And today, we're telling stories just for kids.
What kind of stories?
Irish myths and folklore, and we love to play music and sounds to go with them.
Yeah. Oh, where can you find us?
Well, you can find us on YouTube. Hope you're watching and subscribing to the channel, or you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, hashtag Candlelittle Tales for kids.
And if there's any big people around who want to support what we're doing,
they can become a patron by going to patreon.com/Candlelittle Tales for kids.
Great. All right, so what is today's story?
Today's story is the Brewery of Eggshells.
Sounds good. Okay. Take it away, Aaron.
You! Now the news spread all over the town that Mrs. Madigan was going to have a party to celebrate the birth of her beautiful new baby boy. Well, the whole town arrived to the house, and they came in and they played music and they sang songs and they gave gifts, and they all were happy for the birth of the new baby boy. Mrs. Madigan was delighted to see the town out in such show, with all of their frocks and gowns looking so well, don't you know? And as the evening progressed, the songs went on up and down, merry was everyone, and the drinks were had for all. Until the end of the party came along, like all good things must end, and as everyone was leaving, Grey Ellen came up to Mrs. Madigan and gave her a warning. She said to her,
Mrs. Madigan, you must be careful now. You have to put a daddy sock at the edge of the bed, or put an iron nail underneath the bed, or the fairies might come and take your baby away.
Oh,
said Mrs. Madigan.
Don't give me that. I don't believe in such codology. Now, away with you.
After all, she didn't believe in such things like fairies and changelings and all that kind of codology. So she went about her business, and she was doting on her baby boy. Till a few days later, and, well, she noticed one morning the window was open, and her baby boy was wailing. Oh, she couldn't stop him crying, and he was wailing in such a high-pitched scream she couldn't get him to stop. And she went along to pick him up to calm him down, but he wouldn't be calmed. So she gave him something to eat, and he wouldn't be calmed. He ate and he ate and he ate, but he wouldn't stop wailing in between the bites. And so she tried to calm him. 3 days and 3 nights went by, and he was wailing all day and wailing all night. The screeches were going through her head as she was stubbing her toe, knocking her head. No sleep did she have, and the milk, she noticed, was turning sour. Now people began to mutter, and people began to talk. All around the town they said, you know, there might be a changeling in the house of Mrs. Madigan. A changeling? No, Mrs. Madigan thought, there's no way. Her baby boy was beautiful, and she looked down at his ugly wailing face. It was more like a bark of a tree, and gnarled looking, old and wizened, kind of like an old man face on a little baby.
Oh,
She thought,
that's a very strange looking baby. But no, that's the same baby boy I had a few weeks ago. No such things as changelings or fairies.
What are you looking at, Mammy?
her baby didn't talk to her. Couldn't have happened. Now, a knock came to the door. She opened the door and there was Grey Ellen standing there.
Mrs. Madigan, you've got a fairy inside in that house. I can smell him. I know what you have to do to get rid of him, so you better listen to me.
Now you see, this is what Grey Ellen told Mrs. Madigan to do.
And then
She takes 6 eggs, get a boiling pot of water,
after that,
and crack 6 eggs into the pot, throwing the eggs away,
and then
putting the eggshells into the boiling pot of water. And then stirred 6 times clockwise and 6 times anti-clockwise. And to make sure the pot was boiling over a fire in full view of the baby. The fairy, she said, would reveal itself to Mrs. Madigan, and when he did, she was to have a red-hot poker that was reddened by the fire, ready to smack it on the bottom so that she would get her baby back and the fairy would run away. Now, Mrs. Madigan didn't really know what to do. She didn't believe in this sort of thing, but as the baby wailed and cried and moaned even more, she thought she might as well give it a shot. And so, she did the first step at least, and she lit a huge fire. And it was roaring. She got a huge pot, filled it with water, and put it over the fire to start to boil. She got the poker, and she left it into the middle of the fire now to redden nice and hot. She wasn't really sure would she go smacking the baby on the bottom with it, but she might have to. And so she went and got 6 eggs just as the water began to bubble and boil. She took the first egg, she cracked it. She threw the egg away. She put the eggshell into the boiling water. She did this 6 times. And she stirred the water 6 times one way and 6 times the other way. But nothing really happened. And she wasn't really expecting it to. And after all, there was no such things as fairies anyway, was there? And then she heard a voice.
what are you doing, Mommy?
She looked over her shoulder to see her baby boy standing on 2 legs glaring at her.
What are you doing, Mommy?
He said again. She said, now looking at the poker that wasn't quite red hot, so she stuck it into the fire, moving it till it got good and hot. She'd have to smack the baby on the bottom with it after all. And so she said,
Oh, is it wondering what it is that I'm doing you are, my love? I'm brewing eggshells.
That's the silliest thing I've ever heard, Mommy. I've been on this world for over 1,000 years, and I've never heard anything sillier than that.
As the fairy cackled and laughed, Mrs. Madigan now knew her baby boy had been stolen away by one of the fairies. A changeling was in its place, and now she had to get her baby boy back. The only way to do it was to get the red-hot poker out of the fire and smack the baby on the bottom. And she went. And she looked at the red-hot poker, now glowing hot in the embers of the fire, and she reached and pulled it out. She turned around, determined to get her baby boy back, and she ran towards the fairy, but she tripped, and she fell, and she let go of the poker as it went flying out of her hand and skidded across the floor. She climbed up and ran over across to pick it up, and then she looked at an open window next to the cot. And she heard a strange cackling sound coming from outside. And then she saw down in the cot was her beautiful baby boy, now returned to her. No more fairy, no more changeling. Well, she closed the window shut and locked it. She got one of the daddy's socks and she put it over the edge of the crib. She got an iron nail for safekeeping and put it under the crib because, well, fairies don't like iron either. And with that relief, she sat down next to the roaring fire to warm her hands and finally get some sleep.
What are you looking at, Mommy?
Wow. A big shout out to Gareth Curtis for drawing those beautiful images. Thank you, Gareth.
Cheers, Gareth. As ever.
As ever.
Right, so a few questions. Aaron, me old buddy, me old pal, how did that story make you feel?
Well, I felt a bit scared initially, a bit frightened,
A little bit.
and a little bit like laughing because we thought it was pretty funny.
It was pretty funny, in fairness, the voices. So, what do you think the message of that story was?
I think the message of that story is that no matter where you are, magic could be close by you, no matter where. And you can't ever tell which one of the people are a fairy or not. It could be you, or could be you, could be... The thing is, we don't really know.
Could be anyone.
Could be anyone.
Absolutely anyone.
Might be you. Or the person right next to you.
So, what do you do after hearing a good story, Aaron?
Well, as always, you could draw a picture of something you remember. Maybe the fairy sitting right there as she was stirring the pot. Or you could sing a song about it. Maybe you could have a little dance. Or you could tell somebody. Go off and tell somebody, a big someone
That's
or
our
a small
favourite
someone. And that's our favourite one, because then you keep the stories alive.
Cool. And what is that other thing that you can do?
Oh yeah, if you're a big person and you want to support us with monetary value, like money, well, you can go to patreon.com/Candlelittle Tales for Kids and help us out to get more equipment and make more videos like this to spread Irish mythology far and wide.
Oh, cool. What's the other stuff you can do?
Oh yeah, subscribe, like, share, comment, give us a, something online, and it really does help if you're subscribing to the channel. Have you done it yet?
You can do it now, if you want to.
Do it now.
So,
Now, subscribe to the channel.
one more thing.
Oh yeah.
One more thing.
Okay.
What is today's mythical fun fact?
Today's mythical fun fact is, did you know that people in Ireland used to believe these stories fully and absolutely, and they believed that fairies preferred boys to girls. So, what did they do? But they dressed little baby boys up in dresses so they'd look like girls, so the fairies wouldn't come along and steal them away. So, if you're afraid of getting stolen away, just put on your sister's dress.
Yeah, you'd be grand. Okay, slán go fóill.
Agus go raibh mágad.
You!